In the dim glow of a rainy afternoon supermarket in suburban Chicago, Emily Harper froze at the checkout lane, her heart sinking as the cashier swiped her debit card for the third time. The machine beeped its cruel denial, insufficient funds flashing on the screen like a judgment. Her two young children, 8-year-old Ava and 5-year-old Noah, clung to her legs, their small faces upturned with confusion and the faint edge of hunger. Emily's cheeks burned under the impatient stares from the line behind her, a mix of groceries, bread, milk, canned soup, and a few apples, sitting unpaid on the conveyor belt. She had budgeted every penny from her nursing shift paycheck, but an unexpected medical bill for Noah's asthma inhaler had drained the account dry. In that moment of quiet devastation, Emily whispered a silent prayer, unaware that a stranger's gaze from the next aisle held a secret echo from her own shattered past, a connection that would soon weave despair into hope. Emily's life had not always teetered on this fragile edge. 3 years earlier, her husband, David, a dedicated firefighter, had perished in a warehouse blaze while rescuing trapped workers. The loss ripped through their family like a storm, leaving Emily to navigate widowhood with a grief that never fully faded. She worked double shifts at the local hospital, her hands healing others while her own heart ached. Ava, with her father's bright blue eyes, had grown quieter, drawing pictures of happier times, while Noah's innocent questions about Daddy's return pierced Emily like shards. Mornings began with rushed breakfasts of oatmeal, evenings with bedtime stories laced with unspoken sorrow. Bills piled up like unspoken accusations, mortgage, utilities, school supplies, and Emily often skipped meals to ensure the kids had enough. Yet she held on, fueled by a stubborn kindness inherited from her late parents, always offering a smile to patients or a listening ear to neighbors, even as her own world shrank to survival. That rainy day, the supermarket felt like a battlefield of everyday struggles. Emily rummaged through her purse for loose change, her mind racing to decide what to put back, the apples for Ava's lunch or the soup for dinner. The cashier, a young woman named Mia with a sympathetic nod, suggested trying the card again, but Emily knew it was futile. Behind her, murmurs grew, a businessman tapping his foot, an elderly couple exchanging glances. Then, from the adjacent lane, a voice broke through, calm and steady. An older man, perhaps in his late 70s, with silver hair and a worn flannel shirt, stepped forward. His name was Elias Grant, though Emily wouldn't learn that until later. He carried a small basket with coffee and newspapers, his eyes carrying the weight of decades. Without hesitation, he pulled out his wallet and handed over his credit card to the cashier. "Pay for hers too," he said simply, his tone leaving no room for argument. Emily's breath caught, a mix of embarrassment and gratitude flooding her. She turned to protest, but Elias raised a gentle hand, his expression soft yet resolute. "It's the least I can do," he murmured, and something in his voice, a faint tremor, made her pause. The transaction completed in seconds, the groceries bagged and handed over as if nothing extraordinary had occurred. Ava tugged at Emily's sleeve, whispering thanks to the man, while Noah beamed with wide-eyed wonder. Elias helped load the bags into Emily's cart, his movements deliberate, almost reverent. As they walked toward the exit, rain pattering against the glass doors, Emily finally found her words. "Why would you do this for us?" she asked, her voice barely above the store's hum. Elias paused under the awning, raindrops splashing nearby, and looked at her with eyes that seemed to search her face for echoes of someone else. "Because your father once saved my life," he replied quietly, "and I've been searching for a way to repay that debt for over 50 years. The revelation hit Emily like a wave, pulling her back to fragments of her childhood stories. Her father, Thomas Harper, had been a medic in the Vietnam War, a man of quiet heroism who rarely spoke of the jungles and battles that haunted him. He had passed away from cancer when Emily was just 20, leaving behind medals in a drawer and tales of camaraderie that shaped her own sense of duty. Elias explained, his voice steady despite the emotion welling in his eyes, how Thomas had pulled him from a burning helicopter under enemy fire, bandaging his wounds while bullets whizzed overhead. Elias had been a young pilot, barely 22, separated from his unit and bleeding out. Thomas not only saved him but shared his rations and stories of home during their grueling evacuation, forging a bond amid the chaos. After the war, Elias returned to Illinois, built a life as a teacher, married, and raised a family, but the guilt of survival lingered. He had lost touch with Thomas, only learning of his death years later through old military networks. For decades, Elias searched quietly, through records, reunions, online forums, hoping to find Thomas's family and offer something in return. A recent newspaper article about David's heroism as a firefighter mentioned Emily in passing, and the name Harper clicked like a long-forgotten key. As Elias spoke, standing there in the parking lot with rain soaking their shoes, Emily felt layers of her grief peel away. She had always known her father as the gentle man who fixed bikes and read bedtime stories, not the war hero. Yet hearing Elias recount Thomas's compassion, how he hummed old folk songs to calm wounded soldiers, how he wrote letters home filled with hope despite the horror, brought her father vividly alive again. Tears mixed with rain on her face, not just from loss, but from the sudden warmth of connection. Ava and Noah listened wide-eyed, sensing the shift in their mother's energy. Elias wasn't just a stranger, he was a living bridge to a part of her heritage she thought lost forever. But the twists deepened when Elias revealed more. He had amassed a modest savings over the years, intending to create a scholarship in Thomas's name for children of veterans. Finding Emily changed that. He wanted to help her family directly, not out of pity, but gratitude. That evening, over coffee at a nearby diner, Elias shared faded photos from the war, one showing a young Thomas with his arm around Elias, both grinning despite the mud and fatigue. The act of kindness rippled outward. Elias paid not only for the groceries but quietly covered Noah's medical bill the next week, connecting Emily with a support group for widows of first responders. In return, Emily invited him to family dinners, where Ava showed him her drawings and Noah chattered about superheroes. Elias, widowed himself for a decade, found renewed purpose in their laughter, sharing stories that healed old wounds. One emotional twist came when Emily discovered Elias had battled his own demons, post-traumatic stress that strained his marriage and career. Thomas's letters, which Elias had kept, revealed how her father had encouraged him to seek help upon returning home. It was a cycle of compassion, unbroken across generations. Months later, as Emily's finances stabilized with a promotion at work and Elias's ongoing support, she organized a small gathering for veterans in their community, honoring her father and Elias's shared history. The kids flourished, Ava's artwork blooming with colors of hope, Noah's asthma managed with ease. In the end, what began as a moment of desperation transformed into a tapestry of human connection, proving that kindness echoes through time, often returning when least expected. Elias's simple act at the checkout wasn't charity, it was the fulfillment of a promise forged in fire and friendship. Emily learned that even in loss, threads of goodness bind us, waiting to be rediscovered. If this story touched your heart and reminded you of the quiet heroes in our lives, hit that like button to spread the warmth. Subscribe to Pure Kindness Stories for more tales that celebrate empathy and hope, and share this with someone who needs a reminder that kindness always finds its way back. Together, we can keep the cycle going.